Hey, what's up guys, Mikey here. I just wrote some nice knowing you cards to my friends and family, because with what I'm about to do, I don't know how much longer I'll be around for. Every TV show has to start somewhere. Sometimes they're good, and other times they can be bad. SpongeBob SquarePants Season 1 is one of the most famous seasons of the whole show, and for good reason. It's the one that introduced SpongeBob, Patrick, Mermaid, and Barnacle Boy to the world, the only season to use traditional cell animation. It helped define so many people's sense of humor for the rest of their lives and for the rest of time. And most importantly, it's the one that started it all. There are so many beloved episodes, and most, if not all, of the season still holds up today. It's a season that so many people claim is the best, which makes what I'm about to do feel blasphemous. As we all know, I like to claim I'm the biggest fan of SpongeBob, as I've seen every episode of the main show so many times and like all of them, no matter how bad or what the consensus is. And while it gets harder to maintain those sentiments in modern day, I still like to go around saying that. Despite that, I will agree on some seasons and episodes being better than others. So today, I wanted to challenge myself and rank all 41 episodes of Season 1 of SpongeBob. Don't worry, I'm already taking precautions. I'm not doing a tier list, I'll just be ranking them by how much I enjoyed them, and anything I feel that makes me like some episodes more than others. I have talked about these episodes at length, so I'm going to try to ignore what I said previously. Specifically, if I said something like, oh, this episode is so good that I think it should be a top 10 episode of the season. I will ignore things like that and just rank them purely based on how much I like them, what they have going for them, or just what I was able to get out of them. Other than that, I don't have any major rules set in place. And this should go without saying, but these are all just my opinions, not hard facts. This ain't worth taking seriously. So let's get this party filled with blood clots and controversial opinions started and move on to the list. Number 41, I Was a Teenage Gary. Not too much of a surprise here, I reckon. This episode does have some redeeming factors to it. I like SpongeBob and Gary's relationship in this episode. I like the horror element it goes for. I don't mind the scene of SpongeBob turning into a snail. And I love Patrick as a whole, especially his last line. Will you clam up? But in my opinion, this episode has the least redeeming factors out of all the episodes this season. It also has the least amount of funny moments throughout the runtime, and quite a few things they do here that don't make a ton of sense to me. If the doctor is too squeamish to give Gary a shot of snail plasma, why the f*** is he even a doctor? Also, I'm no medical expert or marine biology expert, but what even is snail plasma? What was it going to do to Gary if he actually got injected with it? Considering how much Gary loves to eat food and how there are more than a few occasions in the show where he doesn't get too much to eat, I don't really get why he only needed water to feel better. Especially since he didn't eat at all for 3 days, even after SpongeBob got home. This episode feels like they needed another scary/horror themed episode to pair up with the official Halloween episode this season, Scaredy Pants. And while on paper that makes sense, I don't feel like it was entirely necessary to do that. And while there are a lot of memorable visuals, the pacing also feels rather slow, like not too much happens before SpongeBob turns into a snail. That being said, while it's still the worst episode this season, it's still better than the worst episodes from the later seasons and anything from any of the spin-off projects. '40, Sandy's Rocket, the true episode where we learn about Sandy's scientific side for the first time in the series. This one, I found to be kind of frustrating because everything that happens is because of SpongeBob being paranoid about aliens. I know he's never been to space before, but since he could tell they were in space when they were floating in the rocket...
Look, we're in space now!
I don't really get how he and Patrick think they're still on the moon when the gravity comes back on and they're clearly heavy again. And what I really don't get is when they think Sandy's an alien, even after they clearly see her come down from the sky and scold the two of them for wrecking her science experiment. It takes him until the very end for him to realize that he f***ed up. And it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and we don't really see how they get back to Bikini Bottom. And how did SpongeBob and Patrick fit everybody in town into the rocket when they were just struggling to a minute ago? The parts I like the most are the music that plays when SpongeBob and Patrick use the pop guns to capture everybody in town, the little scenes with Squidward and Mr. Krabs, and SpongeBob and Mrs. Puff's deep voices.
Put me in the brig! I don't mind!
It's going on your permanent record!
I just don't really like how it ends considering the whole town was bagged up, and it didn't really feel funny to me. Also, what did SpongeBob do with Sandy's whirlybird? 39. Squeaky boots. SpongeBob gets boots from Mr. Krabs that make annoying squeaky sounds, and Mr. Krabs goes crazy trying to get rid of them, and then is guilty when SpongeBob is sad. I like Pearl a lot in this one. It's her first appearance and shows what she's all about very well. A typical teenager who's embarrassed by her dad, but also has a hard time putting up with Mr. Krabs' cheapness. The whole nighttime scene with Mr. Krabs in the window is my favorite part of the episode. I like the visuals when Mr. Krabs is going through his guilt trip, the telltale heart reference, and the dynamic between SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs throughout. So, more redeeming qualities here than in the previous 2 episodes on the list, but the squeaking does go on for longer than it needs to, so that can definitely be annoying. As neat as the visual tricks SpongeBob does when he shows off what he can do with the boots are, I wish they toned down the loudness of the squeaking throughout the episode, even during the guilt trip. I don't think the squeaking bothers me as much as it does with other people, but I won't deny it does dock the episode some points because of it. The squeaking could be worse, but it definitely overstays its welcome, no matter how much characters like Squidward and Gary speak for the audience. And yes, I know that's the whole point, but still. 38. Fools in April. The one and only April Fool's episode of the show. Squidward gets fed up with SpongeBob's April Fool's pranks and laughing, so he gets back at him, but takes it way too far, and then has trouble apologizing. Now, I've seen people say this episode is mean-spirited, and maybe it can be, but I don't entirely agree. Yes, Squidward's prank was way over the line, but it's not like the customers also laughed at SpongeBob when he was being flung around the Krusty Krab. They were also mad at Squidward for what he did.
April Fools. Jerk.
And Squidward felt remorse when he saw SpongeBob cry and after looking at the damage he caused. Even if apologizing was difficult for him, at least he tried, and that's fine. But I'd argue the worst part of the episode was SpongeBob's laughing in the Krusty Krab. It goes on for so long and it's very annoying over the intercom. And while it doesn't last the whole episode, it's even louder than the boots from Squeaky Boots. The April Fool's pranks SpongeBob does throughout the episode are silly for sure, so is the ending, and I like both of them. I also like Squidward's attempts to apologize to SpongeBob and when he breaks down at the end. It's a nice cap end on their friendship throughout season 1. But aside from that, there's not much worth freaking out about. I don't think this episode is bad, but it's not the best episode of the show or even this season. At least nobody was being a hypocrite here. 37. Reef Blower. The only episode that has no dialogue throughout, and that was always my biggest issue with it. The music throughout is awesome for sure. I do like the visual storytelling in this one, and the animation is pretty solid and smooth throughout. But I don't know. I've always felt like strong dialogue also helped make SpongeBob as a show even more memorable and not just the visuals. It's also one of only 2 episodes in the main series that is only 3 minutes long, the other being episode 533, A Skin Wrinkle in Time from season 13. At least since there's no proper dialogue here, it being short makes it easier to sit through. I know why the characters don't speak throughout, aside from Squidward's little groan. And the visuals do a good job at showcasing what the story is and what Squidward has to deal with living next to SpongeBob, but I feel like without proper dialogue jokes, one of the best things about the show, I have to put the episode lower because of that. I still think this is better than the previous 4 episodes, and after this one, there are a lot more positives for the remaining episodes on this list going forward, so hopefully the angry mob will simmer down soon. 36. Walking Small. Probably not yet. Plankton tricks SpongeBob into clearing the beach by teaching him to stand up for himself and be more assertive. I didn't think I was going to place this episode this low, but after this latest rewatch, There wasn't too much that stuck out to me in comparison to most other episodes. I do like the dynamic between SpongeBob and Plankton throughout. SpongeBob misinterpreting Plankton's assertiveness lessons are humorous for sure, but I didn't think they were as funny as the funniest moments in the season. It is nice when SpongeBob shows he can stand up when it's necessary and he's not just overly happy, but I just didn't feel too much when it happened this time. I like when Plankton is small, but thinks he's large despite how differently the other beachgoers see and hear him. I also like when SpongeBob does step it up and actually does become more assertive, and then when he makes up for his mistakes. But Plankton actually does make a good point on how it's important to stand up for yourself. Like, I would never just let some jackass sit on me. And that eel going through SpongeBob to grab ice cream is also rude. And I still wish I knew if part of Plankton's plan involved this guy grabbing 2 ice cream cones, since Plankton is later shown with 2 ice cream cones, and the eel slipping through SpongeBob to grab another so Plankton can teach SpongeBob to tell him off, and if the vendor conveniently ran out after that, or if it all just happened to work out. It never made sense to me, and it'd be nice if that was clarified. In my opinion, that's not something that needs to be kept ambiguous to keep the audience guessing, like a ghost encounter, and the fact that nobody was shown paying for anything at the beach makes it even more confusing. 35. Jellyfishing. I'm shocked I'm putting this one this low too. This episode introduces the iconic jellyfishing hobby, and it's the episode in Season 1 where Squidward gets hurt the most. But to address that statement, the worst things that happen to him here are the 2 times he gets zapped by a giant jellyfish, getting hot soup blown in his face, and falling down the cliff and exploding. When I word it like that, it makes it seem worse than it actually is. I do like the scene where SpongeBob and Patrick get ready for jellyfishing and how intense it is before they come out and start singing nonchalantly. I like the blue NoMBe scene at Jellyfish Fields, the firmly grasp it line, and the shell phone gag with SpongeBob and Patrick. But the reason I'm putting it here on the list is because this is one of, if not the, slowest paced episode of the whole first season. So many scenes feel like they could have been trimmed down to make it feel like more was happening. The part where Squidward and the jellyfish are approaching each other, SpongeBob waiting for Squidward, SpongeBob licking his lips before playing the clarinet, and maybe even the scene where SpongeBob and Patrick were cheering on Squidward before they realize what is happening to him. I feel like I'd like this a bit more if we saw SpongeBob and Patrick do some more actual jellyfishing before we meet Squidward, and all those other scenes I mentioned were trimmed down to make the episode seem like more is happening. But there are some more positives I like here, such as when SpongeBob and Patrick finally realize what they did to Squidward and apologize for it, and when they receive their comeuppance. So yeah, I don't think this episode is bad by any means, but I'd probably like it more if it was how I proposed, with the longer scenes trimmed down just a smidge, and we start off with more jellyfishing scenes after the long action segment at the start. 34. Nature Pants. I don't mind this episode, but this is definitely one of the least important episodes of the season, in my opinion. SpongeBob wants to give up his city life in favor of a life with the jellyfish. For me, the most entertaining part of the episode was definitely Patrick going f***ing ballistic trying to catch SpongeBob with Old Reliable. I like how Patrick tries the hardest to get SpongeBob to come home with all sorts of emotions, like sad and rage. It's kind of odd when he says he and Sandy miss SpongeBob when this was literally the same day SpongeBob left his house, and he didn't give her anything before he went to Jellyfish Fields. And especially after what happened recently with the rocket, I feel like she deserves something more. I do like this exchange between Squidward and Sandy.
I'll give him a week.
I'll give him 11 minutes.
I like when SpongeBob comes to the realization that he fucked up on his own, and the surprise party at the end was so sweet. The fire sequence at the beginning looked cool. I like the surprise reveal of the poison sea urchins, and it's nice that SpongeBob wanted to prove himself to Mr. Krabs that he can last more than one day in the wild. But that part also just feels completely forgotten about. While I appreciate that there is conflict here, I just don't really think this was one of the greats this season either. 33. Hall Monitor. A boating school episode that has nothing to do with SpongeBob getting his license, but being the hall monitor and causing havoc in Bikini Bottom, and the first time we see Mrs. Puff in jail. Now, I always appreciated that this episode doesn't focus on the usual shtick where the main character becomes hall monitor, lets the power go to his head, and loses his friends. But at the same time, Mrs. Puff's boating school in this episode doesn't have an actual hallway, so I wonder why there needed to be a hall monitor in this episode. I like the music that plays when SpongeBob tries to guide traffic, I like him role-playing as the open window maniac, and I like Patrick a lot in this episode, like when he screams on and off when the cops show him the wanted poster, and the odd misinterpretations of SpongeBob thinking the maniac is right behind him, but Patrick doesn't explain they're one and the same. I do like the detail of how SpongeBob never saw the poster and realized he was the maniac until the end, but I do question how he never put two and two together since he called himself the open window maniac, and the news was how a maniac was on the loose in town. This episode is also fine. I wouldn't say it's absolutely brainless. It does have some funny moments, and I'd rather watch this than something like I Was a Teenage Gary, but I feel like some things could have been executed better. "32. Home Sweet Pineapple. We meet SpongeBob's parents for the first time, and SpongeBob loses his house and has all sorts of problems trying to find another. There are a lot of funny parts in here I like. My favorite lines are about ruining Squidward's day.
Is it time already for you to ruin my day?
Is it time already to ruin Squid's day?
The montage of SpongeBob and Patrick trying to build a house is funny too, and while I'm not super into the part where SpongeBob is trying to sleep but Patrick makes it difficult, the part with the spiders is funny. It's humorous how SpongeBob accidentally hurts Patrick during the building scene, and Patrick unintentionally returns the accidental favor. I like that there are stakes in the story, and SpongeBob isn't in denial about his house being gone or something. I don't mind Squidward being dickish in this episode, because SpongeBob does take advantage of him while he's sleeping, and then Squidward kicks him out, and then cheers and dances about SpongeBob moving away, before a new, refurbished pineapple replaces the old one. This episode is fine, but more on the average side, in my opinion. Now after this episode, everything else has a lot more good, or entertaining at the very least, than bad. And if I do have any nitpicks with any of the remaining episodes, the rest of the episode more than makes up for it, so I'll overlook them. At the very least, I can say I'd prefer to rewatch the remaining episodes on this list more often when given the chance, compared to how often I would choose to rewatch everything else I've just talked about. So now that we got the more mixed to negative out of the way, it should all be uphill from here. "31. Valentine's Day. The one and only official Valentine's Day episode of the show, and while SpongeBob is not really about love, I still wish there'd be another official Valentine's Day episode. SpongeBob and Sandy work together to give Patrick a Valentine's Day gift, but things don't go as planned. I love SpongeBob just giving out Valentine's Day presents to everybody in Bikini Bottom. Whether it's the beginning montage showing him giving them to his friends, or when the strangers at the carnival thank SpongeBob for their presents. I always like the carnival itself too. It's a unique setting for this season that I wish we got to see more often of later on. I like SpongeBob and Sandy exchanging gifts, and when Sandy is trying to fight off the chocolate-eating scallops. I love how excited Patrick is to get his present and when he keeps guessing what it is. It's like a little kid who just can't wait to get a present for whatever occasion, or a father teasing his daughter into telling him what she got him for Father's Day or something. I always really like the gag with Mount Climb Up and Fall Off. I like the second montage when Patrick is just annoyed with his friendly handshake gift. Even though I don't know if that was really the plan B, or SpongeBob did that to stop him from going crazy on the Ferris wheel. And speaking of things I don't understand, I always wondered why the balloon was filled with air when the chocolate-eating scallop bit into it, but then exploded, covering the carnival with chocolate at the end. I don't even mind Patrick's rage here, but I understand if others didn't really like it. At the very least, we can understand why he went crazy, and it didn't go as far as Patrick breaking off the heart on stick and using that to destroy the carnival. I could see that happening in the later seasons, and especially the Patrick Star Show, so I'm thankful it didn't occur here. I would say the rage brings it down just a smidge for me personally, but the unique setting and the fact that it takes place on Valentine's Day redeem it quite a bit for me here. Arg. Mr. Krabs gets so sweatily addicted to the Flying Dutchman's treasure hunt board game and brings SpongeBob and Patrick on a real treasure hunt using that board game map as a basis. I love the banter between the characters during the board game at the beginning. I like when SpongeBob snaps at Mr. Krabs when he's getting carried away, when SpongeBob and Patrick dress up as pirates.
Look, I'm Peggy the pirate.
I'm Blind Beard the pirate. Oop.
When they're constantly saying ARG when they think that's what they're supposed to say, and when Mr. Krabs fires Patrick twice. I like the twist where they find the treasure since the map really is based on the real treasure map, even if the twist was predictable, and when the Flying Dutchman shows up after they dug up the treasure. This is Mr. Krabs' first episode where he's the true main villain, and I think this one works well. His worst is when he refuses to share the treasure with SpongeBob and Patrick despite everything he put them through, and then a close second is when he uses anger and then tears to make SpongeBob and Patrick stay with him. But he does get his comeuppance when he doesn't get any gold, but SpongeBob and Patrick do. But I don't mind him being a villain here because this isn't something like when he tries to drive Plankton to the brink of insanity by scaring him, or when he tries to kill Squidward so he'll get more money for Squidward's paintings. And the treasure hunt makes for a cool adventure, so I'll give the villain portrayal a pass. And the funny moments balance out the villainous side in my opinion. It's not the most unique story of all time, but it's undoubtedly an entertaining one. 29. Jellyfish Jam, the episode with the iconic Stadium Rave song when SpongeBob dances with the jellyfish. The music is the biggest reason I love this episode so much. Not just the Stadium Rave, but when Gary and other sea creatures make their rhythms to help soothe the jellyfish. And for the second song, I love how it starts off slow and calm, but so many more layers are added really quickly. It's cool seeing the live action dolphins and the animated scallops, as well as the treasure chest and anchor chain. I love the first dance sequence that occurs with the flashing colors and lights. I like when the jellyfish wants to come home with SpongeBob, and when Squidward indirectly tries to warn SpongeBob about this being a horrible idea.
That's no pet, that's a wild animal.
And it's good that SpongeBob was in the wrong and didn't listen to Squidward, but still got his comeuppance for it, unlike later episodes. I like when SpongeBob snaps after the jellyfish breaks Squidward's clarinet, and when Squidward tries to retaliate the jellyfish playing the music. I will say that this really isn't paced well either. It takes a while for the bigger conflict to really happen, but I'm willing to forgive it here because the music is amazing. I wish I could find more to say about it, but I'm actually finding it hard to come up with more words, so let's move on. 28. Naughty Nautical Neighbors. The first time SpongeBob and Patrick have a fight, and it's caused by Squidward tricking them into thinking they said bad shit about each other. And his trick ends up with SpongeBob and Patrick clinging to him like a lost puppy. I love how Squidward pulls off his trick by using juice from his souffle to say bad things about SpongeBob and Patrick.
If I had $1 for every brain you don't have, I'd have $1.
And I like that the fight happens as a result. It's pretty funny. There are a lot of funny moments that happen when SpongeBob and Patrick try to befriend Squidward, like Patrick falling asleep when Squidward starts playing his clarinet, when SpongeBob plays the bassinet poorly, and especially when Patrick appears in Squidward's bathtub.
Hey, buddy, I warmed it up for you.
Patrick, get out and put some clothes on.
I also like how SpongeBob and Patrick make up at the end, when they start laughing over the same thing that they were doing at the beginning. The fact that Squidward's house exploded as a result of the many bubbles coming out of SpongeBob and Patrick while they were laughing didn't make a ton of sense to me either. What was in that soda that caused the house to explode when it was let free? Thank God that doesn't happen when a whole bottle of soda is wasted in real life. It's a simple fight that doesn't play out in a surprising way, but this episode is good just for showing us that the best friends of SpongeBob and Patrick also get into their little tips every now and then. And that's pretty good. This is a solid episode all around. 27. Boating School. Our very first boating school episode. And again, this episode is a very good introduction to that. We meet Mrs. Puff and see how nervous SpongeBob gets when trying to drive a boat. I can understand how nervous he feels because I got anxious when taking exams too, especially in high school and college. We all know this at this point, but this is the first episode with the famous line, I like that Patrick is willing to help SpongeBob pass his boating exam, even though his plan is less than morally correct. But I also like that the episode teaches that cheating is wrong and that's not how you get anywhere in life. The montage of SpongeBob driving successfully is great too, with the song Hello Blues, another one of my all-time favorite SpongeBob tracks. I like the gags with Gary's shoes and when Patrick was wearing SpongeBob's pants. I love how knowledgeable Patrick is about driving a boat and how good SpongeBob is at the oral portion of the exam.
Port, skipper, deck, cabin, galley, keel, 1924.
I also love Mrs. Puff as a character in general, and this episode is a good introduction to her. She gets annoyed since SpongeBob can never pass his exam, and you do feel bad for her with how often she has to put up with SpongeBob and how she gradually goes more and more insane over the years having to put up with him. Overall, another good episode with another strong character introduction. 26. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Our very first appearance of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and part 1 of the Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy Hexology saga. SpongeBob and Patrick learn that Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy are retired and try all sorts of ways to get them to be superheroes again. This one is also simple, but like boating school, it does exactly what it needs to do. Introduce the new characters, give us an idea on the special guest stars in the opening, and give us a backstory of their superhero days and providing them a reason to come out of retirement. I put this higher than Naughty Nautical Neighbors and Boating School purely because I always found it to be funnier than the previous two. I like when SpongeBob and Patrick play Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy at the start, and it's silly when they call Squidward Reflecto. Even though they do try to stop Squidward from tanning, it's relatively harmless here, and quite funny, especially when he destroys the tent. I like the various ways they try to get Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy out of retirement, just reminding them of their past when they try to stage a robbery scene, but the thing that works is when they get annoyed so much when SpongeBob and Patrick paint their invisible boatmobile. It's cool seeing them use their powers even at their older age, as well as their rebooted show at the end. And I like that Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy feel accomplished at the end when they get rid of SpongeBob and Patrick. And I also love when SpongeBob gets married by Mermaid Man.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Did you reunite our heroes?
No, but I'm married.
I like this episode for being a very strong introduction to Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and that's all it really needed to be. 25. Rock Bottom, also known as the state I never hope I reach in my life. Two iconic locations are introduced here, Glove World and Leaving Bikini Bottom, a close second to Rock Bottom. This episode gets a lot of praise for its tone, and I absolutely agree. Being in a strange, eerie new environment can be kinda scary. So many things show us that this isn't the land we've been getting to know and love over the past 34 episodes up to this point. The citizens here have a different accent.
I can't understand your accent.
And the text looks different, as if we're looking at a different language, as if we're in a different country looking at a menu in a language unfamiliar to us. I love the dark and creepy atmosphere this has, and it's also fun seeing SpongeBob lose his temper when things get worse for him, showing he's not always a pushover and he has his limits too. But that brings me to my biggest gripe with it. I'm not the biggest fan of him always missing the buses, especially when this guy takes his Kelp Nougat Crunch bar and then he misses 3 buses in a row. That's kinda ridiculous. When they ignore him during some instances like this one when he's tying his shoe and then when he shapeshifts into a bus bench, I don't really understand those. Of course, this guy is nice because he actually helped SpongeBob get home, but this guy, not so much. Of course, I love the tone and that gives it a major advantage. It's cool seeing how absurd the Rock Bottomites look compared to the Bikini Bottomites, but it's honestly just the fact that the buses have it out for him for no reason that's never explained that's holding me back from putting it higher on the list. I mean, he's trying to get home and these people just ignore him. Like, why? 24. The Paper. Undoubtedly, one of the most simple episode titles of the whole series, and one of the most basic premises of the whole show. Squidward throws away a gum wrapper, and SpongeBob plays with it and has the time of his life with it. But for me, this is one of those simple episodes that just make me love it so much. In my opinion, this is one of the best episodes to show anybody who's never seen SpongeBob SquarePants before, to show them what makes the show so special. SpongeBob is very optimistic, and he can make the best out of anything he's been given. Even something small and insignificant like a paper. I absolutely love so much of what he does with the paper, like the impressions,
Look at me, I'm a guy with a mustache.
using the paper as a superhero cape, to using it as a helicopter. It's all so fun to watch. I also like when Squidward tries to one-up SpongeBob by doing things like telling a joke to his little dummy.
Hey, little Squidward, what's gray and ugly and has 6 arms? I don't know, but have you looked in the mirror lately? What are you?
And some of his reactions to just watching SpongeBob living it up with the paper are funny too. And Squidward goes too far when he wants to try and have fun with it for himself, giving away his own house in the process. And he realizes why he didn't have fun himself at first was because he never saw the potential in the paper like SpongeBob did. It's so fun to see SpongeBob come up with what he can do with the paper and see what Squidward does to get it back. This episode is paired up with Valentine's Day, and I'm happy they didn't try to make this a love-themed episode to go along with the one that actually takes place on Valentine's Day, since that didn't work with I Was a Teenage Gary. Overall, very good episode that encapsulates the magic of SpongeBob brilliantly. 23. Tea at the Tree Dome. The episode that introduces Sandy Cheeks and teaches SpongeBob and Patrick what air is like compared to water. I love how SpongeBob sees Sandy in trouble and wants to help her even without knowing who she is, and then when Sandy returns the favor. It's really cute seeing them bond for the first time. Even though the show is not about romantic implications, I like when SpongeBob says he loves air, seemingly to impress Sandy, and how even though he's slowly dying when he's in the tree dome, he still stays to be a gentleman to Sandy. I love how Patrick wants to help SpongeBob out if something goes wrong, and I love when they both freak out over not having water.
I need it!
What kind of place is this?
It's also nice that Sandy befriends Patrick at the end when she saves their lives, despite not officially introducing themselves. Like Rock Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick are in a new environment unfamiliar to them, and they don't know what to do. And while that has a very superior tone, this episode just has more at stake, specifically 2 lives, and that makes it more interesting because we want to make sure they stay alive by the end. Of course they survive, but it still tends to see them slowly dying over their inability to breathe. I was definitely on edge about that as a kid, worrying if they were going to survive or not, especially SpongeBob. I really like this episode for how it introduces Sandy when she's fighting a giant clam, as well as the tree dome as a near-death experience unless you have the necessary survival tools. One of the strongest main characters of the show debuting in such a memorable episode. 22. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2. SpongeBob wins the conch signal from the original Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy series and uses it to call Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy to spend time with them, and he ends up going on patrol with them after a while. I like that this one shows more of what their rebooted series looks like after it was brought back the last time. I like that we see things like the Mermaid for the first time and meet the Dirty Bubble, as short-lived as his appearance is. It's funny when Barnacle Boy gets annoyed by how much SpongeBob was summoning them with the conch signal, and how Mermaid Man tries to go easier on SpongeBob when Barnacle Boy is harsh. I like the running gags with Barnacle Boy and the tailpipe.
I think I
Found it! Come on, I found it!
And especially when you hear a cat screech when the invisible boatmobile comes to a stop. I like when Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy try to ditch SpongeBob despite saying how nice he really is, and then are proud of him when he saves them from the dirty bubble. It's cool seeing the Atomic Flounder for the first time, learning a little more about what the old show was like. And the antics that SpongeBob gets himself, Mermaid Man, and Barnacle Boy into are pretty humorous. It's a solid episode, but I don't think there's much more to say about it. It's good, a little better than MMMBB 1, and for something like this, that's okay. 21. Culture Shock. Mr. Krabs wants to bring customers to the Krusty Krab, so Squidward hosts a talent show and wants to steal the show, but ends up being overshadowed by SpongeBob just mopping up the f***ing stage. I always wondered why, even with the massive crowd that came to the Krusty Krab, why Squidward think that he'd have a shot at the big time, regardless of how good his act is. There are no agents, this talent show never happened again in the future, and Squidward's mentality is like an average high school student playing a lead role in a school play in the state of Illinois, expecting a Hollywood agent to show up and give somebody their own show. I like the sequence of the crowd making noise for SpongeBob, but only going silent for Squidward when I was young, but now it's only okay to me. And yes, I know it's to punish Squidward for not letting SpongeBob perform, so it's fine. Now to be more positive about this episode, I love all the other acts, like Gary's poetry and when Plankton tries to steal the Krabby Patty. My favorite is Pearls with her Krusty Krab cheer.
That's what I call talent.
And I love how much Mr. Krabs loves Pearl in this episode and cheers for her when she's on stage. The talent show acts are so unimpressive throughout that they're pretty funny. Patrick is also funny with his laughter whenever Squidward speaks, and I like Squidward's snarky line about nobody giving the Krabby Patty a home other than the Krusty Krab. The sequence with the dancing bubble is fine too. Overall, not too shabby of an episode. "20. Employee of the Month. SpongeBob is worried about Squidward winning Employee of the Month instead of him, and his constant pushing makes Squidward determined to outshine SpongeBob for once. I like this one for being a little switch up from SpongeBob and Squidward's usual traits. Squidward hating his job, and SpongeBob loving it, not really caring about the pay. Here, Squidward actually decides to win the Employee of the Month award to prove a point, and SpongeBob showing that he actually does have an ego, and not just being dedicated to his craft as a fry cook. They both work well in my opinion, and I never thought it felt out of place or character. I love the banter between SpongeBob and Squidward in Squidward's room, the gag where Squidward gets covered in shredded meat, and the drastic measures they take on each other before getting to work, especially with the chase scene. I always love the end where SpongeBob and Squidward try to outperform each other, and they end up destroying the Krusty Krab.
Clean tables, Mr. Krabs!
Clean dishes, Mr. Krabs!
While we never find out who won the award and we don't get a proper conclusion, I think it works better here than in Sandy's Rocket, because Mr. Krabs kicked off the conflict by teasing SpongeBob that Squidward might win the award this time. This ending shot here is fine comeuppance towards Mr. Krabs, unlike Sandy's Rocket where we see nothing like that. There's a lot of funny moments here that I absolutely love and always have, and I'm going to be saying that a lot more as we continue to move up. "19. Neptune's Spatula. The episode that debuts the god of the sea, King Neptune, and is likely the reason why golden spatulas are used as collectibles in SpongeBob video games.
A fine jest, boy.
This episode is pretty funny. Considering the context, I can see why King Neptune wouldn't believe at first that SpongeBob pulled the spatula from the grease, especially considering Larry tried to do that and failed. Speaking of Larry, it's neat that he and King Neptune do muscular poses together. Speaking of not Larry, I love the gag with Tom Kenny showering.
Behold!
Whoopsie.
And how Patrick's face was on his crotch for the rest of the episode and was never shown fully back to normal. Speaking of Patrick, my favorite part is when Patrick tries to stand up to King Neptune on SpongeBob's behalf and King Neptune zaps him.
SpongeBob can handle it! Ouch!
Not just because of that, but I love that he's willing to stand up to a god to defend his best friend. King Neptune is a little bit of a jerk, but I still like him. I never found him insufferable, and he does have an arc where he learns that just because somebody looks small, that doesn't mean they have nothing to offer. I like the sequence of both SpongeBob and King Neptune making patties in their own ways. And it's funny when the people of the Poseidon don't like the patties, and there must have only been 1,000 people watching since King Neptune gave all the patties he made to everybody in the stadium. The ending sequence where he hates the Krusty Krab stove is also kinda humorous too. I really like this episode, and the Fry Cook Museum and Poseidon are pretty cool locations that I wish we saw more of. "18. Muscle Bob Buff Pants. SpongeBob has trouble adjusting to Sandy's exercise program, so he orders anchor arms to look stronger, but still gets in trouble when he's entered into an anchor toss competition. There are a lot of really funny moments here that I love, like SpongeBob struggling to get the drink off his hand, and how the anchors keep landing on this poor guy during the competition.
210 yards!
Just to name a few. The sequence of SpongeBob not doing well with the exercise program is cool, and I love how it concludes with SpongeBob dodging the arm cruncher and replacing his hand with a phone.
This is it. Hey, that's great, Sandy. Oh, I sure had fun. We'll have to do it again sometime. Bye.
And when he pretends to have a secret workout. It makes it all the more satisfying when he gets his comeuppance for getting carried away. When I was a kid, it took me a couple watches to process why this was happening before I realized it was just because he put too much air in the arms. It's still a little weird in my opinion, and I think I would have preferred this part trimmed down to cut to the chase of the anchor arms exploding. I put this one higher than Neptune's spatula just because I can relate to the struggles of wanting to be stronger a bit more. Everybody gets stronger at their own pace, which I did know, but my struggle was just finding motivation to get stronger. And now, while I'm nowhere near as insecure about my strength, I still like this episode for the way SpongeBob flexes his anchor arms, all the funny gags that happen throughout, and the lesson about getting stronger at your own pace. And the other lesson of not inflating your own ego over something that isn't true. "17. Plankton. The episode that introduces the main antagonist of the series, Sheldon J. Plankton, who's hell-bent on stealing the Krabby Patty formula and running Mr. Krabs out of business.
I went to college!
Plankton is such a strong character throughout the series, and this episode is a perfect introduction to him as a whole. He's introduced with a bit of mystery since we don't see how the Krabby Patty is moving, and then Plankton is revealed and we learn his life goals. SpongeBob and Plankton scene shows Plankton well, with his manipulative and trickery side trying to befriend SpongeBob and get him to give him the formula somehow, a side that seems to have been forgotten in later seasons. Plankton's plan here is one of the best he's ever had, using the brain control to get SpongeBob to do whatever he wants. We also get to see Karen, his computer wife, just as his analyzer. She'll speak as her own character for the first time later this season, and we won't officially learn her name until episode 81, The Algae's Always Greener from season 3. And we also get to see Plankton's laboratory, record player, and lab. The last two never appear again in the series, which is a damn shame. I can only imagine what happened to that poor dog. Plankton's instant gratification and idiot sides are also shown well, making for a well-rounded villain. This episode is one of the strongest character introductions in the season. But to be fair, all the episodes that introduce the main characters and recurring players this season are strong, so take that as you will. But for our main villain, amazing showing. And it's got its funny moments too. Overall, it's great. "16. Suds. SpongeBob gets sick with the suds and has to go to the doctor's office. After hearing false horror stories from Patrick, he doesn't want to go, so Patrick tries to doctor SpongeBob and makes things worse until Sandy shows up. She gets SpongeBob to the doctor and he feels better in no time. I love when SpongeBob slips and slides around the house when it's frozen solid. I like the montage of Patrick trying to heal SpongeBob very incompetently, and when Patrick and Sandy fight over the giant sick SpongeBob, just to name a few sequences. I love when SpongeBob gets the sponge treatment and feels better, and when Patrick gets the special treatment as payback for what he did to SpongeBob. I also love the banter between Patrick and Sandy throughout the episode, especially when she questions Patrick on where SpongeBob is.
Okay, Patrick, where's SpongeBob?
He's not here at the moment. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep.
I think some of the funniest moments in this episode come from their banter. It's so funny seeing how over Patrick she is in this one. I love how Mr. Krabs sends SpongeBob home to rest when he's sick, and I love how Sandy is SpongeBob's first choice when he needs to go to the doctors, showing how SpongeBob knows that this is an unpleasant situation, and he knows Sandy will take it more seriously than Patrick. I like when even Gary is concerned for SpongeBob being sick, and how both SpongeBob and Patrick cut Sandy off before she finishes saying she'll be over at SpongeBob's house faster than a barefoot jackrabbit on a hot greasy griddle in the middle of August. Hans is introduced here too. He's pretty cool, and I like his voice.
Here's your lollipop.
I really like this episode. It's simple, but fun, and teaches that there's nothing to fear about a trip to the doctors, and they're there to help at the end of the day. "15. Sleepy time. Somehow, SpongeBob comes out of his own dream cloud and visits his friends in their dreams and causes problems for most of them. This episode has one of the most creative concepts throughout the whole show. SpongeBob literally showing up in somebody else's dreams, rather than him just happening to show up, considering how he always haunts Squidward's dreams even outside of this one. I love how creative, for the most part, the characters' dreams are. They all represent each character's personalities well, in my opinion. SpongeBob wanting his driver's license, but he can never get it.
Not even in your dreams, Mr. SquarePants.
How Gary is quite smart, especially compared to his owner. Patrick not having much going on in his head. Squidward playing clarinet live and being very classy. Sandy doing extreme sports. Pearl being very girly, Mr. Krabs having a hankering for adventure, especially ones that'll give him more money, and Plankton taking over Bikini Bottom. There's not too much that happens, it's just SpongeBob visiting others' dreams, but that's okay because every dream is not only a good showcase of what the characters are all about, but they're all visually distinct that it's very easy to remember what they look like too. I still find the ending to be very strange since nobody can control their dreams. I don't think SpongeBob in his sleep intended to leave his own dream cloud and visit others. I've had friends tell me if I've been in their dreams and vice versa, but they never told me to stay out of their dreams. I understand nobody wants their dreams tampered with, but again, those are dreams. You can't help what you dream about. Aside from that, this is a pretty good and unique episode for the season. But I will say, after the rough ending of this one, the next episode on this list has a very happy and heartfelt ending. Spoiler alert. "14. Texas. The episode that reveals that Sandy is from Texas on the surface, and that her motto is,
Don't you dare take the name of Texas in vain!
I love the lore reveal in this episode. Since we already knew that she was a land squirrel, we didn't know that she was specifically from Texas. I also love the song she sings here. It's so beautiful and heartfelt that not just SpongeBob and Patrick tear up, but Mr. Krabs and 2 random customers too. I like SpongeBob's attempts to make Sandy happy again, even though he doesn't know what to do, whether it's trying to do karate with her, or the party he throws by bringing in elements of Texas to Bikini Bottom. I love the chase scene between SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, but my favorite sequence was always the part where they rile Sandy up to get her to chase them.
The stars at night are dull and dim whenever they have to be over dumb old stupid Texas.
And the ending is also very sweet. I love when everybody comes together to help cheer Sandy up, even characters that we haven't really seen her interact with up to this point. And when she realizes she's been home all along because she's surrounded by people that love and care for her and Squidward. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and I love that. And the ending line is hilarious too.
What did you just say?
Should I start running now?
The only thing I would change is, I prefer if Sandy got sad just by looking at her sand shape of Texas instead of witnessing the wave wash it away. After the wave hits it, why can't she just rebuild it? Seeing it play out by just watching Sandy look at her sand shape would make it feel a bit more natural in my opinion. Regardless, this is a great episode with lots of lore, funny scenes, and heartfelt moments. 13. Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. I didn't expect to put this one so high, but I still get a lot of laughs from it. SpongeBob and Patrick think Squidward died, so Squidward tricks them for his own advantage into thinking that he is a ghost. I like when SpongeBob and Patrick play their silly, nonsensical game and when Squidward breaks them up. The antics that occur when SpongeBob and Patrick think the wax sculpture is the real Squidward, the gag with the wallpaper, this background painting, and one of, if not my favorite lines and gags in the entire show that makes me laugh every time is in this episode.
One watermelon, fresh from the manure field. Your spookiness?
I also like when Squidward has SpongeBob and Patrick cater to his every whim, the antics when SpongeBob and Patrick think they have to put Squidward to rest, and all the mourners that show up when they think Squidward was dead. It's exactly how it should be when Squidward gets hurt, because instead of telling them the truth right away, he takes advantage of them by making them cater to his every whim, not getting horribly injured just for making a smug face.
I think they make a cream for that now.
When stories like this are done well, which they not always are, they can be a good time, and this is definitely one of those examples when they're done right. I also like that we learn the origin of the Flying Dutchman here, why he haunts the 7 seas. It's a really good and funny episode, but it's not one of my absolute favorite stories this season. 12. Pickles. The episode that debuts Bubble Bass and creates the thing that everybody associates him with. Bubble Bass tricks SpongeBob into thinking he didn't put pickles on a Krabby Patty, which makes SpongeBob lose his confidence, and Mr. Krabs has to help him get it back. There are so many iconic moments, like Bubble Bass's original order, SpongeBob's routine to make a Krabby Patty, when SpongeBob gets confused and can't remember how to make patties,
Bun down, shoe, mustard, pen, bun now!
which escalates into him not remembering anything.
Oh, was it mattress, sheets, pillow, then SpongeBob?
And I love the visuals of SpongeBob's house in a complete mess. I also love SpongeBob and Bubble Bass's rivalry. I like that it shows that SpongeBob doesn't actually get along with everybody else and vice versa, showing he's not completely nice all the time, that he does have his layers, as well as when he snaps at Mr. Krabs where he doesn't think he can remember how to make a Krabby Patty again. I love how Squidward is the comic relief, with how he's not good at making Krabby Patties, he looks at himself in the mirror during the climax, and how SpongeBob tries to get the crowd to cheer for Squidward, but they didn't like his cooking.
Boo! You stink!
I like that Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob the rest of the day off to relax and then helps him get his confidence back. It's not entirely about work, but he does still care since he sees how stressed SpongeBob is, and he doesn't rush SpongeBob in the slightest when he tries to make a Krabby Patty, even though it takes at least 2.5 days before he finally does. I love when SpongeBob foils Bubble Bass's plan to trick SpongeBob into thinking he's inadequate because Bubble Bass definitely deserves it here. This is a great episode with so many memorable moments. 11. Hooky. The episode that plays on the concept of SpongeBob and Patrick playing hooky, ditching work when he shouldn't be, and playing with fish hooks, which are a grave danger for sea creatures. It's such a clever idea and something that can only work in a show like SpongeBob. So that alone puts this high on the list. I like how nobody takes Mr. Krabs seriously when he warns them about the hooks at the start.
The hooks! The hooks! How about a mint?
But only SpongeBob does. I like that Patrick is completely not scared of the hooks at all, and when he convinces SpongeBob to ride them with him. I always love the sequence where they ride the hooks and jump off. It does look like a pretty good thrill, which would make this interesting to see what Sandy would do if she encountered these hooks now that I think about it. Mr. Krabs is a real highlight for me here. I love the fatherly side of his character on display, with how he's always warning SpongeBob about the hooks and ensures SpongeBob that he'll be okay as long as he listens to Mr. Krabs. Speaking of which, since the hook was staged as a way to teach SpongeBob the dangers of not listening to warnings, I wish we could have seen something that led to Patrick's comeuppance too. And even though he ended up in the tuna can like Mr. Krabs warned them about, it's still a missed opportunity in my opinion. That's like if we didn't see Patrick getting the sponge treatment at the end of Suds and just came out looking worse than he actually did. But still, it's a good story that teaches how important it is to listen to warnings no matter how far-fetched they may seem. And I always love the subtly dark tone of this episode. 10. Help Wanted, the very first episode. I also didn't expect this to be this high, but after thinking about it, I feel it deserves it. My only gripe is I think the flopping scene went on for longer than it should have, but that's it. This episode is a great start to this iconic show. It introduces the characters so well. SpongeBob is optimistic about getting the job, but not completely egotistical as he doesn't have enough confidence at first. Patrick is a good friend who is there for SpongeBob when he needs him, despite not being the brightest bulb in the box.
Go, SpongeBob!
Mr. Krabs is greedy, Gary is the pet, and Squidward is grouchy and doesn't enjoy his job or most of the people around him. For a pilot, this is simple as it should be, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only 8 minutes long, 3 minutes shorter than most episodes, but it didn't need to reach 11 minutes to work. I actually think the shorter length works in its favor. The story is very focused and it doesn't need to shoehorn in the other two main characters, Sandy and Plankton, to make it work. I always love the sequence of SpongeBob making Krabby Patties. I love the usage of Living in the Sunlight by Tiny Tim for the montage. It just works in a way that's really hard to describe. The animation looks really good too. You can tell that it was made a lot earlier than the other 40 episodes this season, but in my opinion, that gives this one a unique charm that isn't in the other episodes this season. It's also great that for an episodic show where everything resets back to normal after an episode ends and before the next one starts, this episode has some actual continuity that they stuck to for the rest of the show. This is a great first episode of the series, and I can't imagine a better way to kickstart SpongeBob SquarePants. 9. The Chaperone. SpongeBob takes Pearl to her high school prom after Pearl gets stood up by her last long, tall, and handsome boyfriend.
Meep.
SpongeBob dresses up and makes himself taller as a way to help her prom night special, but everything he tries goes wrong. I really like this one. It's the only episode focused on a school dance, let alone Pearl's high school dance, which is pretty unique considering what else comes out for the show. I love pretty much all the jokes and gags in this one. When Pearl's crying, when the guys disappear to not take Pearl to the prom, the long list Pearl has SpongeBob make, and everything SpongeBob screws up at prom. My favorite gag, of course, being the dummy.
Oh, hi, Mr. Krabs. Are you talking to that dummy I made? It's pretty realistic, isn't it?
The Doing the Sponge song is iconic and just makes the episode even better. The montage of everybody getting hurt when doing the sponge is hilarious. I also like the montage where SpongeBob gets ready for prom. The music there is amazing. The track Cha Cha Nova, another one of my all-time favorite SpongeBob tracks. I love that SpongeBob tries very hard to make Pearl's night fun, but it doesn't work well. I don't even think Pearl was being too mean to him. Sure, she does have a ridiculously long list of rules, but she was also very happy that she and SpongeBob traveled in a limo. Sure, she was very embarrassed and angry when SpongeBob screwed up, but she's just a teenager. Teenagers get like that all the time. And even so, she does have a change of heart when she sees how sad SpongeBob is and cheers him up. After they get kicked out, Pearl admits how much fun she truly had.
I knew it would be a total disaster all along. But as far as disasters go, that was really fun.
Even if the dummy gag at the very end muddles everything up, this episode is still great. It's got a lot of heart packed in, so many great sequences and gags, a banger song, it has it all, even the SpongeBob dummy. 8. Scaredy Pants. The first holiday special of the series, the first Halloween episode of the series, and the first appearance of the iconic Flying Dutchman. SpongeBob is very easy to scare during Halloween, and the others take joy in scaring him. SpongeBob is tired of being scared so easily and wants to do something about it. His attempts to scare people don't go well, and the Flying Dutchman comes in, and when SpongeBob's costume is removed, it does scare everybody. This is another very fun episode. In terms of scaring SpongeBob, I always love this line by Squidward.
Steal your soul.
I also like when SpongeBob gets scared by Patrick in the glasses.
Hiya, SpongeBob! Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Speaking of Patrick, I always loved when he can't find the difference between SpongeBob and the paper ghost and screams and stutters over it. I like the kids' reactions when SpongeBob tries to be scary. I like the party at the Krusty Krab before it's interrupted by SpongeBob and Patrick. I always got a kick out of SpongeBob losing control when Patrick runs in circles, and pretty much everything with the Flying Dutchman is amazing. Him being fed up with people dressing like him on Halloween, when he gets scared by SpongeBob and runs away, and when he burns the citizens when they're screaming. I love SpongeBob being fed up with everyone scaring him and takes action into his own hands. It shows he does have some backbone to him despite being an invertebrate, and SpongeBob getting his own back at the end is so satisfying, with that reveal of his exposed brain being iconic. This is a great episode, especially for being the show's first holiday episode. And now we're at the top 7, and before we get into it, I have to say, this was the most difficult part of the list for me to figure out. I knew I wanted all these episodes to be in the top 10, but it was hard for me to narrow down where exactly they should go. The order here can easily be changed depending on how I feel when I wake up in the morning, but right now, this is how I currently feel about them. 7. Bubble Stand. Possibly the most simple 11-minute episode this season, and maybe of the whole show. Makes sense because it does introduce the bubble blowing hobby, and yet, I feel this episode does more than jellyfishing did. SpongeBob builds a stand for blowing bubbles for 25 cents a blow. SpongeBob shows Patrick the technique for blowing bubbles of different shapes and sizes. Squidward tries doing it himself, but it doesn't work until he does the technique and blows a massive one, which later engulfs his house and lifts it into the air until it pops. I have a lot of fun memories with this episode. I love the technique and try to learn how to do it myself just for the hell of it. I love all the creative bubble shapes SpongeBob blows, including everybody's favorite.
It's a giraffe!
I love when Squidward is pissed off with them for blowing bubbles, but then becomes intrigued himself. And the whole rest of the episode is just great when Squidward does the technique and creates a big bubble. The whole sequence where he plays the clarinet and it sounds good, and SpongeBob and Patrick jam out and chant Squidward's name is so great. A very simple premise that they get a lot out of, but not too much that it feels overwhelming. And of course, all the amazing jokes like when SpongeBob is building the stand quickly and then quietly, to all the dialogue, it's great stuff. 6. Pizza delivery. Mr. Krabs makes a pizza and has Squidward deliver it with SpongeBob even though it was at a bad time. They end up getting lost and have to deliver it on foot. When they finally deliver it, the customer is an asshole and Squidward stands up to him when he sees how sad SpongeBob is. This episode is so great too. I love whenever SpongeBob tries to do things the pioneers do when they're lost, and the only thing that ended up not working out was the hitchhiking. The tornado sequence is pretty epic, and I love when the wind stops just so SpongeBob can express his disgust.
Well, I don't!
Squidward.
Of course, the Krusty Krab pizza song is funny, but I can't say anything new about it that hasn't been said. SpongeBob and Squidward play off each other so well here. It's easily one of, if not their strongest episodes as a duo. I do love when SpongeBob sings about them being saved when they spot the rock that they can drive, and how he drives the rock with almost no problem, but not the boat. Squidward's character growth at the end is amazing. Despite everything he and SpongeBob went through during the episode, he still didn't like seeing SpongeBob sad and just slammed the pizza into the customer's face as payback. Served the customer right for sure. Overall, great episode. No doubt about it. 5. Opposite day. Squidward wants to move away, but tricks SpongeBob into being quiet by saying it's opposite day to make the sale work. When Patrick comes into the picture, he and SpongeBob take it too far, and SpongeBob tries to become Squidward, and Patrick does the same thing, which ends up annoying the realtor and leaves Squidward behind. There are so many amazing moments throughout. I like the surprise party at the start, even though it wasn't Squidward's birthday.
It's not my birthday!
I love the opposite montage where SpongeBob and Patrick do everything opposite, the visual of SpongeBob when he tries to figure out what opposite is going on, and whenever SpongeBob and Patrick are both Squidward, with their song being iconic of course.
I'm Squidward, I'm Squidward, I'm Squidward, Squidward, Squidward.
It's hilarious when they all say they're Squidward at the end. But let's be real, we're all Squidward and who doesn't want to be Squidward?
Meow.
And all parties are punished for everything they did. Squidward's punished for pulling the stunt on SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're punished for everything they did to Squidward and the real estate agent. I love when Squidward acts opposite at first and SpongeBob thinks Squidward's unwell before Squidward explains what opposite day is. I love how the realtor reacts to everything SpongeBob and Patrick say and or do to her. In my opinion, this is the best episode this season where Squidward tries to trick SpongeBob and Patrick for his own good, but things backfire on him and he gets his just dues. 4. FUN. SpongeBob chases Plankton down to get back the Krabby Patty he stole. Plankton gives it up, but is sad because he thinks he's a loser. SpongeBob wants to befriend him, and Karen tells Plankton to use this as an opportunity to steal a Krabby Patty. They go to Jellyfish Fields, and SpongeBob teaches Plankton about fun by singing a song. Plankton ends up liking it, and he starts to lighten up and have fun. Mr. Krabs doesn't believe Plankton changed, and exposes him in front of SpongeBob. He tries to get away, but is foiled because of the solid concrete behind the movie screen. This episode has some of the strongest character work of the whole show in my opinion. I love SpongeBob's sentiment and his motives to try and cheer Plankton up. And it does work initially, Plankton is distracted from his evil plot for a while. I like Mr. Krabs being suspicious of Plankton, and it totally makes sense considering how long they've been enemies for. I like that Plankton genuinely has a fun time with SpongeBob. He's not completely evil and ruthless here. The sequence of SpongeBob chasing Plankton around town is really epic, and I love when everybody comes out of nowhere and just yells, "Loser!" And I like that Plankton was sad when he admitted himself to SpongeBob. Whether or not he still considered SpongeBob a friend, their relationship being more complex than Mr. Krabs and Plankton continues throughout the series, and that's pretty nice in my opinion, even if Plankton is too far gone and it's only the first season. And the fun song is amazing too, can't forget about that. 3. SB129. In my opinion, this is the standout episode of the season, the most unique of the bunch. The only episode this season that SpongeBob does not play a major role. This time, it's on Squidward. Squidward can't get peace from SpongeBob and Patrick bugging him to go jellyfishing, so he hides in the Krusty Krab freezer, but ends up getting frozen for 2,000 years and ends up in the future where everything's chrome.
Everything is chrome in the future.
He finds a time machine and goes back to the past and ends up at the beginning of time. Then the time machine malfunctions and he ends up in purgatory all alone. Then he admits he misses SpongeBob and Patrick and wants to go home. When he gets home, he's so happy to see SpongeBob and Patrick, but not happy enough to go jellyfishing with them. I love the sequence at the beginning where SpongeBob and Squidward go back and forth. I love when Squidward is freaking out about the future. Because we all know I can relate to that. I love the looks of the chrome future and the beginning of time. I love the characterizations of the Primate, Sponge, and Star, as well as Spongetron and the real Patron. I love the tone when Squidward gets stuck in nowhere, and the sequences of the time machine itself. I love the running gag where Squidward is unable to play his clarinet in peace. This episode is a brilliant showcase of putting other main characters in the spotlight, and even running with locations different from present-day Bikini Bottom, and pulling both of them off excellently. 2. Ripped Pants. The famous episode where SpongeBob rips his pants. SpongeBob is jealous over Sandy liking Larry's strength, and when trying to improve his strength, SpongeBob accidentally ripped his pants. But everybody found it hilarious, and he started doing it intentionally for laughs. It works for a while until he takes it too far and pretends he drowns. When he realizes what he's done, he's all alone and meets up with 3 other biggest losers on the beach, and he sings a beautiful song about learning his lesson about getting attention. And he and Sandy make up, and SpongeBob is no longer jealous of Larry. I always love this episode. This is one of the most relatable episodes to me. I definitely did crap like that to get attention and laughs back in high school and college. It definitely worked for a while, but I never took it as far as SpongeBob did, but I admit it felt like I was a little annoying to others at times. But of course, it was all good in the end. I love when SpongeBob comes to the realization that he f***ed up on his own. I love the moments between SpongeBob and Sandy, like when they hang out at the beginning.
Hey Sandy, look! I'm Sandy!
And when she's the only one who laughs at the ripped pants jokes around the other people eating food. I will admit the ripped pants lines can feel a little old after a while, but I think why I still like them is just the brilliant delivery of the lines by Tom Kenny.
Did you order 20 cases of ripped pants?
I love when SpongeBob feels inferior around Larry, showing some insecurities he has, subtly wanting to be stronger. The song at the end is so beautiful, both in terms of its message and SpongeBob singing very suave-like. All the characters are so strong throughout. It's an awesome episode with lots of laughs, an amazing song with a good message, and great character growth. And number 1, Karate Choppers. After this latest rewatch, this is the episode I got the most out of. SpongeBob and Sandy do all sorts of intense karate matches with each other that they become too addicted to it. SpongeBob's obsession in particular starts to cause problems at work, so Mr. Krabs tells him to give up karate. SpongeBob and Sandy try to get their minds off it, but they can't help doing it anyway. And instead of Mr. Krabs firing SpongeBob, he makes him and Sandy work together to use their karate to make Krabby Patties for customers faster. There are so many sequences I love, like SpongeBob keeping his guard up when he thinks Sandy's nearby, all the creative ways they attack each other using karate, when they make sandwiches followed by them going at it so hard,
You're mincemeat.
In your dreams.
everything in the park is chopped in half. I love when SpongeBob hallucinates seeing Sandy when he's looking at Fred shooing a fly away. I love how Squidward and Mr. Krabs are so annoyed with SpongeBob doing karate, and I don't think Mr. Krabs was too unreasonable when he was telling SpongeBob to stop doing karate, considering he did violate Mr. Krabs' privacy in the bathroom. I'd be pissed too if that happened to me. This is fine because it creates conflict for the episode. If the episode had no stakes at all, there'd be no point to it. And when Mr. Krabs fires SpongeBob, Sandy explains that it was her fault and convinces him to rehire SpongeBob, and he does. I like when Mr. Krabs has a change of heart about the karate at the end after seeing the sandwiches they made. And I love when SpongeBob was willing to quit because he and Sandy were too obsessed with karate.
You're just gonna have to fire me.
Showing how close SpongeBob and Sandy really are. In my opinion, this is the perfect amount of wackiness a typical SpongeBob episode should have. It's not too cartoony to the point where it becomes distracting just to follow the story, and they know not to make it so exaggerated during times where we have to take the conflict more seriously. But it's still here because the karate matches would be so much less visually interesting without them. It's an appropriate level of cartooniness that makes sense. I love the live action face on the hot sauce drop, and I love that SpongeBob actually beats Sandy in a karate match, something that is rare for the series. And with all that, I think Karate Choppers is my favorite episode of Season 1. At least right now. And there is my list. While I'm quite content with the placements of all the episodes, the top 7 in particular can really change at any moment. Not just because of the reasons I listed for each one, but in my opinion, they are all great episodes you can show to anybody who hasn't seen SpongeBob and give them a taste as to what the show is all about. Bubble stand and pizza delivery with the simple yet very fun premises and the character development of Squidward, ripped pants and FUN with their banger music, and yeah, pizza delivery has that too. Opposite Day for a great episode where Squidward tries to fool SpongeBob and Patrick for his own gain but gets comeuppance for it. SB129 for giving other characters lead roles and pulling it off quite tastefully, and Karate Choppers for its fast-paced visuals and action. And all 7 of them having amazing character work and hysterical laughs throughout. Honestly, I'd say Season 1 is the season of the show with the most episodes that perfectly represent what the show SpongeBob SquarePants is about as a whole compared to all the other seasons. Of course, that makes sense considering it is the first season, but it just feels special in a way that not all first seasons pull off as well. Season 1 of SpongeBob is great. Clearly, considering how many seasons and movies came after it. Season 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants is awesome. For what it is, it's an amazing start to the series. And that's my list of how I'd rank the episodes, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Oh, I'm starting to feel all tingly inside. I forgot how much fun it is to try new things. Well, I might as well keep the good times rolling and try something else new that I've never done before.